3 people died in the woods last summer, and I'm not sure if I can tell anyone the truth about it. Part 1. A story by user Isolated Destination. I have told no one about this incident, the only people who know were the ones that were there that day. I am sharing here because I honestly don't know what else to do, as I don't feel comfortable sharing with police or my family. It started in the summer. My cousins and I usually travel every July to my aunt's house. We called her the cool aunt, because she was closer to our ages, and had a big house that we would all pile in for a few weeks. Usually we just hung around, watched TV, and acted stupid around the house. Last year, my aunt decided that instead of just doing the same old routine, that she would rent a friend's cabin up in the woods near a small lake, and that we would all go up and have a blast with barbecues, campfires, and lots of swimming. Something important to know is that my aunt lived in the middle of nowhere. Like, the Wi-Fi barely worked already at her house, and she wanted to drive us all out to an even more remote location. We weren't exactly thrilled, but it sounded kind of fun, so we went with it. Plus, our parents were going to join us in a few days, and that was where we would all be picked up, so we had to go. "Why are we going up to the middle of nowhere again?" I asked. "Well," my Aunt Shelby responded, "I saw a really good deal online that I couldn't pass up. It was almost too good to be true. I can't believe they had availability the exact weekend I wanted to rent it." The first bad decision happened when my aunt asked me to drive her second car. She had a 2-seater small white truck and a red Chevy Bronco, and we needed both cars to bring everybody and all the supplies up to the cabin. I am the oldest of my cousins, and was turning 16 in just a few months. I had my permit, and planned to take my driving test on my upcoming birthday. "It will be fine," my Aunt Shelby assured. "Things are a little different here, a little more lax, you won't get in trouble or anything. I need you to drive up your cousins in the Bronco, and I will carry all the gear in the truck. Plus, it's just one road to get there after we get off the main highway, you can't get lost. Just follow me and it will be smooth sailing." I responded. The thought of being stuck with my 2 scheming cousins was not very enticing, but I was excited that I would get to finally get some more driving practice in. My cousins climbed into their seats through the back of the 2-door Bronco as they always did. We packed up everything, and we left late in the afternoon. Second bad decision. The cabin was about 2.5 hours away, and we had plenty of daylight left, or so we thought. "You're going so slow, Sloane," the second youngest announced. She was sitting in the back seat with our other cousin, Trinity. "I can barely see the truck ahead. Shelby is not going to be happy if you lose her." "Stop talking, you can have an opinion when you get your license," I retorted. "You don't even have your license," she responded back, sharply. It was true. I had only been driving for a few months, but these roads were so windy and uneven I was having some difficulty keeping up with my aunt's slightly erratic driving. "Can you please connect my freaking phone?" Trinity complained from the back. "I want to listen to music." "This car doesn't have an auxiliary. And there is only a radio," I responded. "Tough luck, and stop complaining." It felt like we had been driving for hours. The sun was setting and the road getting more narrow, windy, and remote. We really were in the middle of nowhere. I had looked up the place my phone before we left, but the location wasn't really registering on Google. It looked like it was in the middle of endless acres of private property, not other addresses or roads around, except the one cabin at the end of the road we were on. The driving continued, and soon I was having trouble keeping up with my aunt, and my stomach dropped as I realized I wasn't even catching the occasional glimpse of the truck's rear around any of the corners anymore. I was hoping no one else had noticed. "Did you lose her?" Sloane demanded to know. "No," I said, feigning confidence. "What the fuck, Max?" she yelled. "Drive faster, I don't want to be lost out here." "Stop talking, if I go any faster we'll drive off a cliff." Sloane jumped from the back into the front seat, grabbing my phone from the dashboard. "There is no signal," I told her. "Let me just check," she replied, as I leaned over to grab my phone out of her hands. Bad decision number 3. We tussled a bit over the phone, and I was making a sharp turn around a windy corner when I immediately slammed on the brakes. Parked in front of us, directly in the middle of the road, was the white truck. Thank God, I thought. I ripped the phone out of Sloane's hands and waited for my aunt to start driving, figuring she had realized I was too far behind and stopped to wait for us. Then a minute passed. "Why isn't she moving?" Trinity asked. "Not sure," I responded, "maybe she is looking for directions on her map." We waited. 5 more minutes passed. I turned off the car and leaned out the driver's seat window. "Aunt Shell?" I yelled, "are we lost? I thought we couldn't get lost out here." I jokingly shouted to her, feeling good that it wasn't my fault if we were. No response. I could see the exhaust from the tailpipe coming out, the engine was still on, but the windows rolled up, tinted so we couldn't see what was inside. Suddenly, the car started moving. Slowly forward, almost more like rolling than driving. It was slowly heading down a slope towards a ditch on the side of the road. Sloane looked at me conveying with her face, "WTF is going on?" I could only look back at her with my best expression to relay, "I have no idea." The truck inched ahead, like in slow motion, and crashed gently into the ditch. We were all staring, in total confusion. "Stay inside the car," I said to Trinity and Sloane. "Fat chance," they responded in unison. I opened my door and started walking towards the passenger side of the truck. The car was sort of sideways in the ditch, and the driver's side was now pressed against a cliff wall so that door would not open. The windows were rolled up. Sloane grabbed for the door handle, but it was locked. "What is going on?" she said, and started pounding on the window. "Open up," she yelled. We pressed our faces on the window, but it was too dark to see. I hadn't really noticed till this moment, but it was now past dusk, and seemed to have gotten dark fast. The sun was pretty much set, and the road was already in a shadow from being completely encompassed in a thick forest of trees. "Shelby, open up!" Trinity screamed, still pounding on the glass. I tried to think quickly. I knew the truck's back window was broken, and could be pried open. It was a tight fit, especially with all the gear in the bed. "Trinity," I said, "you are small enough to fit, climb through the back." We hoisted her body up into the bed, and sure enough, the window peeled open, and she climbed halfway through. "Is she in there? Did she faint or something?" I asked. Trinity crawled in fully, head first, landing on her face on the front seat. "No one is in here," she yelled, "but it stinks, and it's wet. I'm gonna unlock the door." We were confused. She opened the door and looked at us. We were completely in shock. "What?" she yelled at us. "Why are you staring at me like that?" She stepped out of the truck and opened the door wide. "There is no one in here, look." With the cab light on, we looked into the truck, completely empty, engine still running, and a thick pool of blood saturated the passenger seat. Trinity had blood smeared all over her hands, part of her face, and her clothes as she had crawled right into it. She noticed it now in the light and started screaming. "Be quiet," Sloane yelled. We were in disbelief. "Shelby!" Trinity screamed. We searched around the car. Nothing. I looked at the driver's side of the door. It was clean, and the door was also locked. No blood anywhere except the passenger seat. Something was not right, and I had the sudden urge to run. I grabbed both the girls' arms and ran for the Bronco. "What is going on?" Sloane asked. "I have no idea." We jumped in the car and locked the doors. Trinity was still crying and looking at her hands in shock. "We need to get out of here now," Sloane yelled. "We can't leave Shelby," Trinity screamed, crying. "I don't know how to get back," I said. "We have been driving this windy road for hours and there hasn't been a building or house in sight." "So what? Just drive," she yelled. I started the car. As I began to put it in drive, I felt a punch to my gut. A ding sound, and small light appeared on the dashboard. It was a low gas warning. "Shit," I yelled. Sloane saw too. "Look," I said. "We know that the cabin is at the end of this road, we have to be close. We don't have much gas left, but I'd rather take my chances going forward toward the cabin, than go back where we know there is nothing. Plus, maybe Shelby is hurt and started walking towards the cabin. At least if we head there, we can look for her on the road and call 911 from the cabin." Sloane looked at me. I could tell she was terrified, but she nodded her head in agreement. We decided to go forward. Bad decision number 4. We passed slowly around the truck. I put the car in park and grabbed some of the loose gear that was in the back, 2 flashlights, a water canteen, and a long walking stick. We continued. I thought to myself how this didn't make any sense. We were less than a minute behind my aunt, and there was only blood in the passenger seat, not the driver's seat. The doors were locked, the windows rolled up. What could have happened? My thoughts were racing. I was trying to focus, but couldn't stop thinking about what just happened. I was driving fast but trying to stay steady. It was now pitch black and the road was somehow even windier than before. No one said a word. "Stop!" Sloane shouted from the front seat. I slammed on the brakes. "What?" I said. "I saw something up ahead." "It's just your imagination," I started to say. "No, I saw something too," Trinity said from the back seat. "What did you see?" "I don't know," said Sloane. "It was dark and crawling, like it crawled across the road really fast." "What did it look like?" I asked. Sloane looked confused, almost embarrassed, like she didn't trust her own eyes. She stuttered, "I'm not sure, it kind of moved like an animal. A monkey, or a wolf." "What the fuck?" I said, "I don't know, it just ran by, kind of like crawling," she said. I looked at her. I really did not know what to do. "Okay, well, whatever the monkey wolf was doing running across the road, we probably don't want to get in its way," I said sarcastically. I started rolling forward when we heard a terrible high-pitched screech. I pushed on the gas pedal but nothing. The screech came again, louder, and everyone was screaming. I realized it was coming from the car. We were out of gas. "Shit," I said again, not to anyone in particular, but more just to the situation. I turned off the car. I had to think. Quickly. "Okay, what if we grab the flashlights and the water and just start walking? We have to be really close now," I asked them. "Are you actually an idiot?" Sloane responded. "I am not leaving this truck, that's the first rule of survival, stay with your car." "Yeah," I responded, "if you are in the snow and people are looking for you. Not if you are probably just few minutes from a real shelter that has food, and a phone, and no one has any idea we are lost out here." "No way," Sloane yelled. "I'm in charge, so I decide what we do," I shouted back. "Will you both shut up?" Trinity Whisper screamed, while she put her hands on our mouths. "There is something out there," she mouthed, "listen." We were quiet. No sound. It was so quiet we couldn't even hear the normal chatter of crickets and frogs. "There is nothing out there, you are all seeing things, and hearing things, and I get that you are scared, but..." I stopped talking. I heard it. A rustling coming from behind the car. We stood still. It was fast, and sounded small, with little footsteps, like how a bird scurries in the underbrush. And then a louder crash like a branch breaking from a tree. This was not something small. We instinctively all jumped into the backseat and crouched down below the windows. We didn't say a word, but the noises continued, getting louder. Sloane's eyes met mine. "What is it?" they asked. I shook my head. Suddenly, the noise was right outside the car. Not just rustling, but we could now hear footsteps and snorting grunts. It sounded like a horse or a bear, roughly blowing angry air out of its nostrils. Whatever it was now right next to the side of the car. It was pitch black inside and outside. I couldn't see anything but felt the vibration of something running its hand or body alongside the car. Then I heard it, the noise of pulling, yanking, on the passenger door handle. I closed my eyes as tight as I could. Somehow, thankfully, the door was locked. Immediately the car was pushed and rocked, almost as in frustration. I looked up from my position squeezed in the back seat at the driver door lock. It was upright, totally unlocked. I heard footsteps running along the front of the car. It was heading to the other door. I sat up as fast as I could. I reached for the lock, but right as I touched it, the door swung open. We screamed. A long arm reached in towards us, but it was too tight for it to get to us. We screamed in terror again. We scrambled towards the trunk, as the thing climbed further in, scratching at anything it could grab. "Open the back!" I screamed, but Trinity had already started to, and was climbing out. The creature jumped into the back seat, trying to climb towards the trunk. We leaped out the back, fast. I turned around to shut the back door and I saw its hands reaching for me. I slammed the door shut on them, as it screamed. Sloane had already ran around the car and slammed the front door shut, locking whatever it was inside. "Run!" I yelled. We started sprinting down the road, into the trees. I commanded. "Wait, look!" Trinity was pointing. About 100 meters in front of us, off the road, was the dark, vacant shape of a cabin. We ran towards it. As we approached, a noise startled us. It was a sound so hollow, broken, and frightening. To this day, I can't really even fully describe the terror it evoked in me. It was a howl, coming from the trapped animal, a creature, a thing, in the car. The howl sounded as viscous as a lion's roar, and as lonely as a wolf's. It wasn't just a cry, but we realized immediately that it was a call. In the distance, shortly after the creature howled, we heard the return of the howl, from what sounded like at least a dozen calls in response. We ran to the cabin. There was a porch that wrapped around the house, and we climbed the stairs to get to the front door. "The door is locked," Trinity yelled. "Try the window," I responded. "There are no windows," Sloane yelled to us both. We started scrambling. It was still pitch black, but as we ran around the house, a dim, old, motion sensor light turned on and we could see a little better. We were looking for an entry, but there was nothing. "Here," I yelled. I found a back door. The back door was locked, but it was more like a screen door, not heavy like the front door, but clear plastic, and the frame kind of already was dented enough to pry open. I looked around. I needed something flat to wedge in between the frame and the door. There was another set of steps leading down from the porch. I ran down, frantically searching for something. "We need to get in," Trinity yelled. "I know, give me 1 second." Searching, I saw it. There was a pickaxe. I picked it up and swung it over my head, and started running up the stairs. I aimed for the part of the door that was bent, to try and wedge it open, when suddenly, before I could even try to pry it, the door swung open. "What is going on?" It was a woman, old, in a long blue nightgown. She looked at me, then my cousins, and then back at me. "Get inside," she yelled. Without thinking, we all ran for the door towards the woman. I dropped my axe on the ground and rushed inside after my cousin. Bad decision number 5.
That is the first part of this story. What are those creatures Max and his cousins saw? Where did their Aunt Shelby go? Was she hunted by the said creatures? And who is the woman living in the cabin? To know more on what will happen to this story, share and subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll have access on our updates coming from us. And also, do not forget to like and share this video, and comment down below on what you think about what will happen on the story. This is the Double Dutchman, and we'll see you on our next episode.